Hello, Beautiful by Laonela Kithabeng, Silibe Pikwe Senior Secondary School, Silibe Pikwe District. Narrated by Jessica Bell Kepalej, Zodilo Junior Secondary School, Maung.
I knew it was wrong living with this man, but what could a 16-year-old girl thrown out of the house by an evil aunt do? I flung Constance out through the window because in my case, Constance was tantamount to hunger and suffering. This man treated me well. He drove a sleek BMW. We lived in luxury, in a house bigger than any house I had ever seen in Muchudi. In return for the nice clothes, the good food, and paying for my school fees, I cooked for him and slept with him. Those who saw us together and didn't know better thought I was his child. Some, of course, could see it, that he was the sugar daddy that provided for me. Let them say what they wanted to say. I had concluded my life was my life. Before I came to live with this man, my aunt had been a total misery in my life. I don't have a problem with children attending to home chores like doing laundry, washing dishes, cooking and the like. But my aunt didn't give me space to breathe, let alone to rest or do my schoolwork. Masiho. I always had to answer when she called out. If I happened not to hear the calling, my cheeks would explode from her back slap. My aunt enjoyed cracking her palm against my cheeks, across my face, and sometimes a punch to my jaws. I still have the broken tooth from one of her blows. Masiho, she called out. Ma, I was outside sweeping the yard and raking fallen dry leaves into heaps to be burnt later. I dropped the rake and ran into the house. I'm leaving. We'll be back in the afternoon. Clean the dishes, wash my clothes, stoke a fire outside and cook the beans. You know they will drain the gas if you cook them inside. And don't forget to water the hedge along the fence. Remember, for the hedges we use only water from the public tap. You don't have money for a high water bill, do you? You can borrow a wheelbarrow from the neighbors or carry the pail on your head. With that, she swayed out and off she went. When she came back, I was done with everything. She checked my to-do list, inspecting and checking if all the tasks were done properly. She ran her finger along the surfaces, on the TV screen, looking for specks of dust. Nothing. She gazed up at the ceiling corners, hoping to see strings of cobwebs. Nothing. She peered under the couch, but it was all spotless. Even when she was satisfied, my aunt never said it, or at least showed me a sign that she was happy. She always had this angry, sour face, like someone chewing on a bitter root. She sat on the couch and I knew I had to wash her hands and bring her food, after warming it in the microwave oven, of course. While she was eating in silence, I wanted to tell her something, but I hesitated. It was important, but what if it sparked her anger again? But I decided to say it anyway. I was already used to her outburst. Auntie, I said, and hated the tremor in my voice. They want school fees at school. They say I shouldn't come to school without it tomorrow. She was silent for a while, and I knew she was summoning the right, scathing words that would burn me. Then don't go to school. Do they think money grows on trees? Do I have a horse that defecates money? But aunt, I stuttered, and she smashed the plate of food on the carpet, where it thudded into pieces and scattered the rice, meat, soup and vegetables across the floor. She was on her feet before I could step back. Her left hand grabbed my neck and squeezed. I choked, feeling the world revolve. Her right hand smacked my face, folded into a fist and knocked my jaw, opened again into a palm and scorched fire on my left cheek. Tears and phlegm mixed on my face, and I knew she was intent on killing me this time. When she released me, I staggered and fell on the coffee table, breaking the legs of the furniture. Out, my aunt commanded. Get out of my house. Now. Out in the streets, the only clothes I had being the ones I wore. I was a complete vagabond. I sat on a stone in a cool shade of a tree by the roadside and got lost in my thoughts. I had never known my parents. I was told my mother died while giving birth to me and that I didn't have a father. My grandparents were in the village of Sululwan, living in abject poverty, so I couldn't go there. How was I going to live from now onwards? Should I steal? Should I prostitute myself? Or maybe suicide and get it all over with? I didn't see the vehicle that had stopped on the road. It had almost passed, but the driver launched it into reverse and swerved the car out of the road to my side. It was a BMW. Hello, beautiful. Is everything all right? No one had ever called me beautiful before. In fact, I wasn't even sure if that was a correct description of my features. The mirror had always shown me otherwise. Scars, frightened eyes, swollen lips, and cheeks discolored from constant impact with my aunt's palms. Hello, beautiful. That line melted my heart, and that was how David and I met. At David's, food was in abundance. School fees were not a problem. David had introduced me to the other side of life I had never known. Before meeting David, I had dated only once, with a classmate back then in primary school. But it was what we called face love, nothing intimate. David showed me what making love was. He was overjoyed when he noticed that I was still pure, never touched in that way before. I finished my junior secondary school and proceeded to a senior school. Unfortunately, I fell pregnant before I could complete. Teenage pregnancy was something I never anticipated. To my relief, David didn't deny the child. He didn't kick me out. We continued to live together, though I had lost an opportunity at education. I lived like a housewife, hoping that one day David would marry me. I wasn't sure of my future and feared that David would someday change like the weather. What would I do? Would I go back to live with my evil aunt or head home to Sululwan?
Take-home message. Early sexual debut predisposes to HIV infections, unplanned pregnancies, school dropouts, and family problems. Children who have been abandoned by their guardians must seek help from the relevant authorities.